When you watch the best players in the world hit their forehand, they've got incredible spacing. They've always got plenty of distance between them and the ball, and that's what lets them use that beautiful inside-out swing path. Whereas when you watch most players play, they get way too close to the ball, and it prevents them from effectively using their kinetic chain and having optimal biomechanics. So the question is, how do you fix spacing problems? Now, in order to fix spacing issues, you need to have an understanding of how far away you should be. So you can do a simple test. We're going to test neutral stance and we're going to test open stance, so you've got an idea. So if I set up in a neutral stance, I'm going to find my ideal contact point. And when I find my ideal contact point, if you're using a modern grip, we need to make sure that the pelvis is pointing forwards and the body's pointing forwards. If pelvis and body aren't pointing forwards, that might deceive you into kind of being a little bit closer than you should be. So for ideal contact points, it's something that looks like this. So this is the spacing requirement on a ball that's around waist height. If the ball is a little bit lower, I can afford to be a little bit closer. If the ball is higher, I might need to be a little bit further away. Now, depending on whether you have a completely straight arm or a slightly bent arm, or you use an Eastern, Western, semi-Western grip, it's going to vary slightly, but you need to find out kind of roughly how far away you should be, and then make yourself aware of it. And then I can do the same thing for an open stance. So if I'm making contact in an open stance, how far away do I need to be on the different types of shot? And again, make yourself aware of that, because when you're practicing on a ball machine or any other practice, you have to evaluate yourself based on how close you are or how far you are away from the ball at the moment of contact. Now, something that's going to be really important here is your ability to accurately read the flight of the ball. Unfortunately, the vast majority of adult tennis players' visual systems don't work well enough to allow them to read the flight of the ball in the way that they really need to hit the ball in the way that they want to. That's actually something you can improve using brain-based training. I've made a program to help you with it. So I'll place a link to that in the description. So now that you understand the spacing side of things, it's just a case of setting up your practice in a simple way on a ball machine. And the way that I recommend you do this is you just feed yourself one type of ball first. And this is actually something that I've been doing recently, relearning to play left-handed. So I'm naturally a right-handed player, but unfortunately I injured myself in a mountain bike crash, and I've been relearning to play left-handed. And for the first two and a bit years, I was focusing pretty much exclusively on trying to get better spacing on my forehand. So this is what I did. I would just feed myself a simple neutral stance forehand, and then I would try and get the spacing. And then you have to evaluate yourself on, did you get good spacing? Were you too close? Were you too far away? No one ever gets too far away. It's always too close. So you have to evaluate yourself on that. And that's the tricky thing. What too many players do is they're trying to work on so many things all in one go, and then they start to criticize other aspects of the technique. When you're trying to fix spacing, you have to focus on spacing. So you're watching the flight of the ball, you're watching it as it comes towards you, and you're thinking, okay, how far away do I need to set up? And then you're just trying to set up the right distance. And after you've hit your shot, doesn't matter if it flies over the moon. We don't want it to go over the moon, but it doesn't matter where the ball goes, you're evaluating on your spacing. Did I get correct spacing or didn't I? And if you did, awesome, do it again. If you didn't, think, okay, this time I need to be further away from the ball. And then you hit the next shot. And then you evaluate again. And then you hit the next shot. And you evaluate again, and just keep on evaluating yourself on that same type of feed. And then the more you practice that same type of feed, you'll develop the ability to recognize it and set up at a better distance from the ball. So you do that with like a basic neutral stance feed, and then you challenge yourself. So maybe you've got to move to the ball a little bit, and then it's exactly the same process. But the key is the way that you evaluate yourself. Don't allow yourself to get distracted by anything else. Keep thinking about the spacing. So then you work on a different type of ball, and then maybe you work on a different type of ball. So you work on a number of different types of ball with individual feeds, and then you can start to make the feed more variable using a ball machine. And it's around that time you can start to work with other people, and it normally sticks a little bit more. But this is the process that I used on my left hand. This is the process that I recommend you use. But it's really important, I've said it a few times to kind of recreate. You have to evaluate yourself on your spacing, not other stuff. You can't change the boundaries, you can't get good spacing, and the ball, you know, just goes long by 6 inches and you get furious with yourself for missing your shot. No, it's the spacing we're trying to fix. We've identified that that is what we need to improve for us to improve, so that is what you evaluate yourself on. So a very simple process. It just takes a little bit of time to do because you have to work on your visual system. You have to get used to the flight of different types of balls. But if you work on things like this over a period of a few months, you can make a massive improvement in your spacing, which will then lead to massive improvements in your forehand overall. So hopefully all that makes sense. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Reminder about the Vision program. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.